In this video, we're going to talk about how to use artificial intelligence to improve your offer and get it to convert better. And this is so important because at its core, marketing is very simple. If you have a great offer, more people are going to want to buy it. If you have an average or a bad offer, fewer people are going to want to buy it, and you'll make less money that way. And artificial intelligence is a great tool if you know how to use it properly to improve your offer. Now, this is important because marketing, let's be honest, it's a guessing game. Now, you can have a very educated guess if you've been doing this for 20 years and you've been marketing to the same audience and trying and testing a whole bunch of different stuff, but it is a guessing game. None of us know exactly for sure which ad, which landing page, which email subject line, which opening to an email, which video, what headline on a sales page. No one knows 100% for sure exactly what's going to work. That's why we test things. Now, we can get better at educated guessing if we, for example, talk to another marketer, talk to another business owner in our industry, kind of get outside opinions on the offer that we put together. But you can't always be asking people like, hey, can you read through my sales page very carefully and give me some feedback because they got their own things going on. Secondly, we can get better at making offers by really sitting down and considering our customers and our market and what other people are doing and the nature of how our product works and the conversation that's happening in our audience's mind. But again, we need to balance like spending hours and hours and days and weeks thinking about our offer versus getting other stuff done like driving traffic to the offer, because we do more than just make offers as marketers. And this is where artificial intelligence comes in. If we use it in the right way, it is like applying a lot more intelligence to the nature of the offer and the audience, and how does what I'm saying about my product fit the kind of things that they want to hear so that they can desire my offer. And secondly, it's like getting a second or a third or a fourth or a fifth opinion, and it helps us improve our conversion rates by just leveraging intelligence is the only way that I can think to describe it. So let's talk about this. Let's run through 4.5 steps that you can use. I've got prompts that I want to share with you. Let's run through 4.5 steps that you can use to increase your offer's ability to convert strangers into happy customers. So the offer that we're going to be looking at today, partially because I've read through this and it's very good, and we're certainly not throwing shade on the person who wrote this. Partially, I'm sharing this as well because I think all of you know Tony Robbins. But the offer that we're going to analyze today with ChatGPT is Tony Robbins' sales page for the Unleash the Power Within event that he hosts, which my lovely and talented First Lady has been to, and she says it's amazing. So if you have not been to this, you should probably go and check it out. And if you don't follow Tony's content, like, he's amazing. I'm definitely not suggesting that this is bad marketing in any particular way. But let's run through trying to figure out with ChatGPT, how could we get this sales page to work better? And I want to give you, like I said, some prompts that you can use for whatever type of offer it is that you have, whether you do your offers on video, live on webinars, on sales pages like this, whatever it might be. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to kind of, I don't know if be vulnerable is the right way to put this, but we're going to ask ChatGPT to tell us, hey, am I doing enough to make this offer sound interesting, sound valuable, sound good? And secondly, where am I kind of fluffing around and talking about stuff that's not going to help my audience want to come to this event? So we're going to ask for really critical, harsh feedback. We do kind of need to be a little bit vulnerable with this, because if ChatGPT doesn't tell us where our copy sucks or where our offer doesn't make sense or where we're using bad language or rabbiting on or anything like that, we're not going to be able to make this better. So 4.5 steps. The first step to any prompt that you need to do with ChatGPT is to provide it a whole bunch of context about your business. So you can see here, I've started out doing that. I've said, my name is Tony Robbins, blah, blah, blah. Here's some information about me. Here's some information about what I want you to do. So I want you to be an expert marketing strategist and coach when you look at this sales page. I don't want you to be a comedian making fun of me. I don't want you to be another personal development expert saying, like giving me advice on how I could maybe make this product better. I want you to be an expert marketing strategist and coach. You're going to be very ruthless with picking my content apart, pointing out flaws, because that's how we're going to improve it. If you see something that isn't good enough or will not convert, you will say so. You don't sugarcoat the truth. Now, I'm being really blunt here with ChatGPT because it's got like a sort of niceness setting to it, and it doesn't like to tell you when things that it sees are not very good. So I'm saying to it, hey, you're going to look for things that aren't very good. You're going to critically evaluate a sales page for my event, Unleash the Power Within. So first and foremost, obviously, I've got to give it the sales page copy, which I pasted below. Here, you would give it a script for a video or your sales page or however it is that you make your offer. Secondly, I've given ChatGPT a bunch of information about my business and my target audience, which I pasted below. And I'm going to give it 4 very specific jobs to do. I'm going to give it 4 kind of lenses that I want it to critically evaluate my copy, my sales page through. So first one, you're going to be extremely critical and find the weak points, flaws, and areas of potential improvement in my sales page and answer some questions for me, starting with this. Assume the perspective of our target audience. What questions might they have about this content and what objections could they potentially raise? Am I doing a good enough job of answering them throughout this sales page? And if not, where should I do that? Now, this is important because your audience, if they're looking at your offer, it's because they want it. Now, when they read through your sales page, when they watch your video, when they check out your webinar or whatever it might be, they're going to have some objections. That is totally normal for anyone to kind of look at an offer and wonder, yeah, but is that going to work for people just like me? Or I don't have hundreds of hours of time to go and work on this, or is there going to be follow-up support? Or what if I have questions that need to be answered? Or I've tried this kind of stuff in the past and it didn't work? Or why is your product more expensive than everyone else's? How is it different? So if we don't address those objections before we get to the call to action, by the time that your audience sees the call to action, that's all that's going through their head. How do I know if this is going to work for me? How do I know if this is going to work for me? How do I know if this is going to work for me? And you stick a price point in front of them and they can't think about anything else except for the objection. So what I've asked ChatGPT to do here, tell me what questions might someone have about this content and what objections could they potentially raise? Am I doing a good enough job of answering them throughout this sales page? And if not, where should I do that? So then I've pasted a bunch of information about the business and the target audience. And then I also pasted the sales page, which is down here. Really well-written sales page, by the way. And here is what ChatGPT had to say. So I'm not going to make you read through all this because this is not your offer unless you're Tony Robbins watching this right now. Thank you for your work, Tony. You're amazing. But here's what ChatGPT said. It raised a few concerns. It said, let's think about the credibility and kind of evidence around these claims that you make. There's not really all that much about the specifics of how the program works and what people are going to get and what you're going to teach them, which I definitely agree with from this sales page. High-achieving professionals like this are likely to scrutinize the value proposition. So you need to justify the investment in terms of time and money. So you need to tell people on this sales page, you're going to spend, I don't know how much it is, I'm not going to pull it up here, but you're going to spend a couple of grand, and I'm going to help you to blank. 4th, scientific backing. 5th, I'm not going to go through all this, but I definitely do agree with this sort of stuff. So I don't necessarily agree with this line here from scientific backing, but when I read through this sales page, one of the things that I noticed was all the way down here, if I scroll, Tony actually had some scientists review the people who showed up to one of his events and actually got scientifically proven lasting results. This sort of stuff, I would not hide. I don't know how far down the sales page we are here. I wouldn't hide this 70% of the way down the sales page. I'd move this sort of stuff up a bunch earlier. So I agree with ChatGPT's analysis here. So that's a really good question that you can ask. And the question was, if I scroll all the way back up here, assume the perspective of my target audience. What questions might they have about this content and what objections could they potentially raise? Am I doing a good enough job of answering them through the sales page? And if not, where should I do that? So that's great. ChatGPT passed the job here. In case you're wondering, recently I made a video about ChatGPT versus Claude. You can check that out up here. I did do this exact same exercise with Claude and I got very, very similar results. So, you can do this with Claude if you want to. they both kind of said the same thing, which I was pretty surprised about. So with that said, I asked ChatGPT, tell me if I'm doing a good enough job of addressing my audience's concerns and objections and skepticisms and whatnot. And it's the advice that it gave, I agree with. So here's the next thing that I want to talk about with ChatGPT. Is this offer compelling? So we have such a finite window of time to grab our audience's attention and keep it. So if we don't have a great headline, if we don't have a really good big hook or opening idea to our sales page, if we don't have kind of a strong tagline or an opening to the sales letter, things aren't going to work all that well. No one's going to want to read it. So I've asked ChatGPT here, one of the most important sections is the headline, opening of the letter, and the big idea or hook. Please rate these out of 10. Don't give me a score of 7. And that's a personal preference of mine. This is something I learned from Mark Manson, who wrote the book, The Subtle Art of, I can't remember what the rest of it is, but he says a 7 is a non-score. Like a 6 is barely a pass, which is not very good. An 8 is almost a 9, which is it's pretty damn good. A 7 is a nothing score, and people love scoring things as 7. ChatGPT included, so I told it no 7s, and it went through and it gave me a bunch of sort of rankings here. And again, I agree with these sorts of things, and I said, give me some changes that I could do to bring this letter from a 6 to a 10. And it gave me some stuff to work on. Some of these things I agree with, some of them don't, some of them I don't. But again, going back to the idea of how do we get better at making an offer? We talk through it with people. We kind of think about the nature of the problem more deeply. I'm doing that here with ChatGPT. And this whole thing that you're seeing me put together here, like 6 minutes, maybe this would probably be a 40-minute conversation that I'd have to have back and forth with someone when they have the time to talk to me at a time that's, good for both of us. So this is a really fast way of doing it. So that's question number 2. How catchy is the opening, the headline, the hook to my sales page, and what would you do to change it? Now, the third thing that I want to talk about here is addressing what my audience actually wants. So this is something that I learned from the good folks at Digital Marketer, specifically Ryan Dice. He talks about this idea that people do not buy products. They don't buy services. They don't buy software. They buy transformation. So there's a before state that they live in that is, prior to your product having done its job on their life. And then there's the after state. And when you're talking about your product, you really want to talk about the transformation that it provides. So before your product has done its job, how does their average day suck? How do they feel? What is their status? What do they have? And after your product has done its job, how is their average day awesome? How is their status changed? How do they feel differently? And what do they have that they didn't have before? So again, I'm not going to make you read through this, but ChatGPT's answers here were really good. I said, am I addressing the state that they're trying to escape from with this sales page and making it sound feasible and desirable? Remember, your job is to be critical and find weaknesses in my copy. And ChatGPT gave me a lot of really good stuff here. I agree, again, with a lot of these things, like addressing skepticism directly. That goes back to that thing that I said about, that scientific study that was kind of hidden about 70% of the way down the page. So I agree with this. Now, the final thing that we can do here is we can just open slather with ChatGPT. So here is what I've asked. I've said, what critical questions should be asked about this sales page's overall message to get our objective of someone wanting to attend my live event? So like, what am I not thinking about here? What should we be considering if we want to convert more people into attendees of this event? This is a really good question to ask. It's a really hard question to answer. And in like 4 seconds, ChatGPT gave me a bunch of stuff to think about. And I said to it, cool, based on everything you've seen so far and what you know about my business and my sales page, what are the 2 to 5 things that you think are most urgent for me to consider when making final edits to this sales page before making it live? And I got a bunch of stuff here. So is the value proposition clearly articulated and compelling? Well, this is Tony Robbins. Like, everyone knows who this guy is. There are going to be all sorts of different folks who come to this event. Like, look at how many thousands of people here. Tony doesn't really need to niche down to like men who are professionals, still working, they're age 55 to 60. and they're looking for XYZ and their kids moved. Like, he doesn't need to do all that sort of stuff. But, you know, for most businesses watching this, you really want to dial in on who is my specific person what specific person in my audience should be buying this, and is my value proposition clearly articulated and compelling? Is this message credible and trustworthy? Does this resonate with the target audience's core needs and desires? That's exactly what I was just saying a second ago. So those are some really interesting ideas from ChatGPT there. And if I was working on a high value piece of content in my marketing, like a sales page or a pitch for a webinar or a sales video script or something like that, this is definitely something that I would focus on. Now, these prompts that I just shared with you, of course, these are pretty ghetto, but if you're using ChatGPT to help you make content that really matters, like if your sales page doesn't convert, that's kind of a big deal. If you write a couple of social media posts and no one clicks on them, like, that's not such a big deal. So this might be overkill for sort of smaller stuff like a social media post or what have you. But these are really good questions to ask, to really dial in and focus on, is my offer good? Am I talking about things that is going to make my audience want to buy my product and want to have and use my product more than they want to have the money that I'm charging for it? So in a nutshell, if you give ChatGPT permission to sort of pull apart your sales pitch, your offer, and you ask it very specific targeted questions like this, it's going to give you a lot of things that you can think about. And if you follow through with them and you actually do a little bit of work, tweaking what you've got and making a couple of final edits, I think you'll find that you convert a lot better. So David White here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down here and check out more stuff from the channel here. I'll see you in the next video.